Hector Elizondo, you're not a doctor, but you play one on TV at Chicago Hope.
Right?
Do people turn to you for medical advice?
I think they turn to me more for political advice and say, look like Lenin. What's going on in Russia, Mr. Lenin, they say to me. First of all, I'm taking you. We are now in Sherman Oaks on Ventura Boulevard.
Right.
We're going to Mako Sushi, a neighborhood restaurant run by a lovely family called Mako and Yasu.
A corner table with sushi. Let's go.
Hector Elizondo, thank you for bringing us this sushi.
What a pleasure. Surprised to see you here.
Mako Sushi. Well, you said this is one of your favorite spots, and here we are.
This is a place that's akin to home. And Mr. Shikata, Mr. Yasu Shikata, the master,
and going to sushi it up for us.
One of my food mentors and his lovely wife Mako were kind enough to allow us into their establishment.
This is your Sherman Oaks area restaurant.
Whenever I say, you know, it's time for me to take a break for friends and family, this is usually where I come. First of all, the quality of food can't be beat. The hospitality is genuine, and the people are real. And then Sensei always surprises me with something.
Let's see what we got now. This is something made specially for you?
For you, this is just some vegetables sautéed and steamed, and they know I like the green. But he always surprises me with a little goodie in the beginning, some exotic thingy, which I think is looking at us right
this is what
here.
I've got is a tuna sashimi with a grated mountain yam on top of it and a quail egg. That's exotic.
That's exotic
that qualifies
enough.
as exotic.
Absolutely. Look at
And anytime you can have a squid leg during the course of the week.
And there's a lot of those.
there are many legs to choose from.
The thing is, it's very difficult to even start eating. It looks so beautiful most of the time. Well, that's what I like.
I'm going to dig in. Well, what a journey you've made. I mean, when we see you on Chicago Hope, we see you playing almost the ultimate establishment figure. But the journey began as a 10-year-old singer, right? Who had his own little TV show when he was around 10.
Well, I guessed it on it. That's right.
Yeah, you were
guessing. How did you know that?
I know that. Then from
Just
singing.
a second. You must be wired.
No. I read about it. Then from singing, you got into being a musician, playing the drums.
Yeah.
Then you were a professional dancer, and that evolved into acting. And literally fame as such has found you rather late in life.
I haven't pursued it. I think, as a matter of fact, many times I sort of ducked it. But as the Chinese say, you often find your destiny on the path you take to avoid it. So no matter how I tried to duck it, it kept coming up. And but I didn't. What I really wanted was to play for the New York Yankees more than anything else.
Baseball. You were scouted by the Pittsburgh Pirates?
And the Giants, way back in the days of rocks and caves.
You're in amazingly good shape. I'll get into that later. But during the period,
this looks like it.
This is difficult to spear here. During the period of time.
That's why I don't give you too much of it.
That you were evolving, from the singing to the music, the drumming, the dancing. To support yourself, what's the worst job Hector Elizondo ever had? The worst one, to earn a buck, to pay the rent.
There's a question. In between munching on my cabbage, I think licking stamps in the basement in some God-forlorn, damp old basement. Licking stamp for a travel magazine with other unemployed actors.
Stamp licking?
Yeah, stamp licking. And putting them, slapping them on and sending them off, this magazine. Myself and about a half a dozen other unemployed actors, 1962, around there.
How was your tongue at the end of the day?
It wasn't
good.
I'll tell you, it made you realize you had to find other ways of making a living. No, one thing that acting does is or the pursuit of it, the career of it, if you're interested in the craft of it, is that it humbles you. It quickly shows you that if you don't have a thick skin, you better get out. Because the first word you have to recognize is no.
No?
No, we don't want you.
Hector and I couldn't say no to more food, so we shared some additional appetizers, including seared albacore tuna and shrimp sashimi. Hector also shared some stories of life on the set of Chicago Hope.
Well, let's say we're doing an operation on a guy, and you're operating on his stomach. You're opening up his stomach, right? And you see him. There's his head and there's the stomach, right? Now, if you would be able to X-ray what's really behind, it's a guy sitting in a chair like this, you think? And there's a slab of the side of something else.
So he's under the table.
Under the chair like this,
right.
And looks like his head. His head is cocked back like that. And in between, he's twiddling his thumbs or doing something. Maybe he's, and then you use the blood knife, where you cut and you see the knife actually streaks the.
It's a knife that has blood in it.
Precisely, and you actually make the incision. Lots of things happen. You have to dig in to replace a heart, right? It's a heart transplant.
You have to.
Squeeze and it's a bunch of beef hearts, and some of them slip out of your hand.
How about other situations that occur during the most dramatic moments of the show that the viewers never see?
Well, I think it's happened more than once, unfortunately. In the middle of a very delicate operation, brain surgery perhaps, or removing a tumor, heaven forbid.
Not pleasant.
Liver transplant.
The worries.
Triple bypass, quadruple bypass,
Big.
quadruple bypass.
Bad stuff.
Gets bigger. See, a pigeon, we don't have a roof. Pigeons nest up there in the, a pigeon will make a statement. Yeah? That's the worst. And there it is, being right on your mask.
The character you play is always so totally centered, totally contained. Is it difficult to create a kind of authority figure? And why do you, who's sort of like a beatnik, end up playing so many authority figures?
The character is a challenge because and a blessing because he's a much better person than I am.
How so?
He's weighted down with
everybody's problems,
with moral issues.
Yeah.
And he's a fellow that get up in the morning and knowing what he's going to have to face and still get up in the morning. I've always admired that.
You had such a chameleon ability. I wonder if you could just take one of those characters, like a Portuguese fisherman, this Hispanic guy who's selling vegetables, and tell everybody right into this camera here that we're going to take a break and come back with more food. Any one of your characters, right here.
I'll do it, how about Russian?
Russian. A Russian taking us to a break, telling us we're going to come back to the sushi bar.
Right. So, excuse please, but we must now stop for 1 minute. We will come back and continue conversation and even good food. Nostrovia.
California with Chicago Hope star Hector Elizondo at his neighborhood hangout, Mako Sushi. Hector keeps coming back to eat here because of the artistry of its sushi chef, Yasu. To master the art of sushi making, Chef Yasu spent 5 years training in a restaurant in Japan, and 3 of those 5 years were just learning about the complexities of rice. So he showed off his skills by demonstrating how the takamaki, or tuna roll, is prepared.
What he has there is nori, which is seaweed, and on top of the seaweed, he's laying on just a roll of rice. He's flattening it out, and you see he's making a bit of a cone, right? Now into the rice, you will add
just a touch of wasabi.
Oh, a little bit of wasabi.
I love the taste of wasabi. I always ask for more on the side, though.
Very, very fresh tuna. Thusly.
Now the rolling.
Hold it very carefully.
And once the sushi is perfectly rolled, it is sliced into 6 pieces.
So well.
Well,
And it's a family place.
I'm in for a treat. Look at this
Yeah, they're
sashimi,
beautiful.
the
And
tuna roll.
He's an artist. Yes,
Thank you very much. And
Beautiful.
I'm ready to share. What do you have there?
I have a mitsutake. This is really
It's a-
mitsutake. This is a combination of vegetables and tofu and wonderful broth, and it's really a cold weather sort of stew. So it's a hearty thing. You can chop down a tree after you eat this, man. Makes you
Chopsticks,
schwitz. It's Jewish food.
I got it. Everything's set except for the chopsticks.
Very good. Now,
Hector,
will you allow me? Now, allow me
Go
to
ahead.
do something.
What are you
Allow
gonna
me
do?
I want to give you a little chopstick rest here, all right? First of all,
This is
that's very simple.
What is this called?
I'm just going to call, I don't know what it's called. I don't know, how would you call this in Japanese? A little chopstick rest, huh?
Hashi oki. Hashi is stand, and hashioki.
Hashioki. Yeah.
Hashioki?
So this would be hashi, see? So this is the hashioki. So I'm going to make you a very, very quick, very pedestrian hashioki, thusly there. All righty.
That's the
There
bada
it is.
bing.
And here's the bada boom.
Perfect.
Excellent. Now,
Nice
sir,
place to rest, but the problem is they need to go to work.
I think so.
You know, for as long as I've known you, you have been in what I would consider magnificent physical shape. I mean, maybe viewers can't always tell that because you're wearing the suits and the hospital uniforms, but you've been studying martial arts for 30 years.
Yeah, it's an illusion, the physical shape. Everything is broken.
You've got a Shoden degree in Kendo, which is a Japanese art of sword
Where
fighting.
did you learn this? Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
What got you into martial arts 30
Well,
years
first
ago?
of all, you have to start as a skinny, weak kid. I think folks who are naturally strong and have a good metabolism don't develop a habit of staying in shape. But I was a skinny, weak kid. And I started training because after being chased around the block for the 114th time,
Self-defense.
yeah, my father said to me after I came home crying, the bully was chasing you around, We lived in the Upper West Side. He said, listen to me carefully. We're not moving. We're not moving. So you're going to have to figure it out,
pal.
right?
Yeah.
And that was good parenting. So he took me over to the PAL, laced on him a pair of gloves, and we learned the manly art of self-defense. I was still a sick, skinny little kid, but it slowly started to empower me, as they say.
You, at one point in your past, Hector, thought you might want to be a bullfighter. You actually went to Mexico to bullfighting school?
Where in God did you?
Just, don't ask me where I got it. Just tell it what happened.
I was very young. I'm sorry. I had headaches.
You had headaches? You had to fight bulls?
Yeah. I thought a good idea. Somebody approached me with the idea. I was dancing with a company at the time. I also loved bullfighting because I was exposed to bullfighting movies as a child. The cinema, there wasn't Spanish cinema. There was lots of Mexican cinema in Manhattan. We didn't know any Mexican, but went to Mexican cinema.
So you weren't going to see Bambi, you were going to see bullfighting movies.
Yeah, so I'd go to the regular American movies. My father would love to see these Mexican movies. And many of them were akin to Westerns, were bullfighting movies. And they had all the moral lessons in them, you know. The elegance, the bravery, and I just loved bullfighting. And when I was approached by someone who was a Mexican gentleman, he said, a good idea, you should be a bullfighter. I was 22 years old. So at 22, you think those things are a good idea.
22-year-old.
I went, I tried it, and I came back in 5 weeks with dysentery. And I found out, this not for me, this bullfighting.
What was it like going to bullfighting school?
Well, first of all, I never met a bull. I met a bull. That's when I realized I was not going to be a bullfighter.
You didn't want to stop.
They were the size of a Volkswagen these days. You didn't get in front of those things.
No bullfighting for you. I'd love it if you could take us through sort of your chameleon ability to do different dialects and character. How many dialects could we run through and say in a minute? We had a little Russian before. How about a little
of course, if I was eating here like that, I would be saying to you, this is a wonderful thing. I never had such food that looks so beautiful.
And how about our Spanish friend? What would he be saying
Well,
now?
then he would say something like this. He would say, yes, well, this food is absolutely wonderful, but in San Sebastian we have better food than this, you know. We have just as good a food as this. And the Frenchman would say, but you don't understand, my friend. This is in France. We are the #1 for food. Nobody can beat the French. The Japanese would say, oh, this is very good, but I think our food is much more beautiful and much more special. The Irishman might say, well, no, I tell you, food for me is anything that's on a plate that won't bite me back.
There's a smile in that voice. Hector, I couldn't help but notice during the 20-some years that I've known you that you're bald.
No.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah,
that
it's
happened
true.
recently.
No.
As a matter of fact, it might have happened while we were sitting here.
What? The recessive genes.
Bald?
Yeah,
no kidding.
Recessive genes hit you. What?
Wait a minute. I'm not. Well, I'm follically challenged. Please.
We're in the 90s, right? We have to be politically.
Yes. Yes, I come from a long. I was fortunate. I got bald as a very young man, so I didn't have to
was
worry
that
about
difficult losing your hair at that period of time? Was
it. It just fell off. I couldn't stop it. Didn't hurt at all.
Do you think that your career?
Then I was worried for about a few weeks because you're 20-something. Of course, you're worried about that. Oh, then I looked around. and I said, wait a minute. Who do I admire the most? It's my father. I mean, I'd seen more hair on a piece of bacon than my father.
He was also bald too.
Good Lord, are you kidding? He was bald 3. The man was born bald, but he was a terrific man and loved by all. Never missed a beat. And as an actor, and eventually a character actor, it became a good thing for me.
So you think your career? So if you had say a beautiful flowing head of black hair, you think your career would have been different if you had been a?
I was played Zorro a lot. Something. This is much better. First of all, I was able to play many nationalities, and able to change my face with very little manipulation. That was a blessing, and the fact that I have a good ear for dialect.
But it's funny because so many times women will say, "Oh, I really love bald men," but I don't think they say that to men.
I don't think they really mean that. I think they equate some man who they like with who happens to be bald with some kind of quality that isn't inherent in baldness. But of course, if you have a head that's with a dent in it or something, you shouldn't be bald.
Yours seems to be.
You got a nice bald.
Right on cue.
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse the expression. You told me you have 3 movies in the can. Runaway Bride's the one everybody's interested in with Richard Gere, Julia Roberts, and
yes. That's our 11th movie for Gary Marshall.
The same team.
Same team. 11 movies with that wonderful director, and the same team, Pretty Woman. This is not a sequel. This is, by the way, a romantic comedy. But not a sequel.
What was it like being back with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, the same, and Gary Marshall, the director, right? Put that.
It was like getting back on the same horse. It's like riding a bicycle. You never forget. Gary is one of the dearest people in show business who reminds you that life is more important than show business, because the first thing he asks you when you come on the set is, "Did you eat?
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Sit. You look tired already. Sit. Nice. You're good. We'll talk later. Those 3 pages that you had memorized, the long monologue that you had memorized." I said, "Yes, Gary." He said, "We're not doing those. We're doing something different." So you have to be ready for a curveball from Gary.
How about Richard Gere?
Richard Gere is a man who's found his way in a very, very profound way. He has found his way in capital W. He's a man who's doing good work. Of course, everyone knows that he is somewhat involved with the Dalai Lama in his work, and it's not frivolity. Richard's serious. He's a good man, and Julia is a wonderful professional. She has blossomed into this wonderful professional actress.
So let's finish up here and then we'll get dessert, okay?
And then I think I have a little treat for you.
Really?
Yeah, I heard something about you. I'm gonna have to take care of this. We'll have to fix this.
I could be in trouble. We'll see. And Hector, we've got dessert, green tea, ice cream, and a little piece of cheesecake. Say,
What's wrong with that?
no, nothing at all.
All that's missing is a little stuffed cabbage. I'm only kidding.
Have a bite.
Uh,
What is,
Tell
in
me.
your long and varied life, what's the best piece of advice anyone has ever given you?
Don't take yourself seriously.
All right. I'll try to live by that. Have some ice cream. Go back. Say Hector Elizondo, 10, 12, 14 years old. What was a dinner table like in your household on a typical night? The atmosphere.
First of all, you had to be at table no later than 6:15, 6:20.
On the dot.
That's it. There was no excuses. You had to be bathed. So it was not running by while you're on your way to a fast food joint. Meanwhile, your parents sit down alone. No, you were there with your folks. My sister, myself, my mother and father. There were 4 of us.
Right.
And there may have been the occasional guest who happened to show up. You know,
But
in
it
those
was
days, many people, we didn't have a phone, you see. Not many people
No
had phones.
phones.
So if you wanted to visit, you sort of showed up, you see. And there was conversation, there was some laughter, and there was a lot of talk about doing the right thing. What did you do today? A review of your actions.
So a real family dinner.
Yeah, a real family dinner.
It's a
Yeah. I would
dying
have liked more laughs, but you can't have everything.
Now, if you and your wife, Carol, the wife of what, 30 years, happy married, sentence, what's been the secret?
Not taking ourselves seriously.
All right, this is the best advice you ever got. If you could be anywhere at all in the world tonight, just the 2 of you for a wonderful romantic dinner, you got the world as your oyster, Hector. Where do you want to be?
On the banks of the Grand Canyon, eating out.
What would you be eating? What's in the picnic basket?
I think it would be a good, somehow an Italian meal. I'd have to have oysters. I'd have to bring oysters.
Oysters,
down,
Italian,
to
but
keep
not too much oil.
No oysters, no, fresh oysters. I had
Fresh
them on ice
oysters.
just to kick it off. You know, that would be the only precious thing. I'd have to, this would have to be pre-prepared, you know.
Yeah, that's all right.
I wouldn't
I'm
mind.
asking you to cook at the
I wouldn't
Grand
mind,
Canyon.
thank you. I wouldn't mind some risotto.
Risotto.
Risotto at the Grand Canyon would
Is
be
this
nice.
okay for dessert?
Yeah,
You wanna
I wouldn't mind some escarole, olio with oil and garlic.
Now you're talking my
You know?
language. That's
Yeah,
good.
It would be nice.
I like to close all of our shows with a toast, a kanpai in Japanese.
Kanpai.
And what will that be?
Kanpai, domo arigato gozaimashita. Hey, arigato. Mako and Yasu and everyone here, and especially to you, Bill.
And what does it, can I have a translation?
It's keep your knees loose. Keep your knees loose. Have a good time. It means congratulations.
Congratulations. And thank you.
I have a treat for you.
I'm ready.
I understand you've never smoked a cigar. Is that true?
The last man in America who's never smoked a cigar.
Here's your first cigar.
What kind
It's a
of-
mild one.
All right.
It's a Gloria de Habana. Yeah, it's nothing to be afraid of.
No, I'm
Now,
not afraid.
First of all, bouquet, firmness, well packed.
It smells cigar-like.
I would moisten it.
Moisten the end.
Pardon that. Just moisten the end of it. I said, no, that's the wrong end.
And I'm not doing this on purpose.
That one.
You never get to think
That
of
one,
it
that
now.
end. There you
All
go.
right.
Terrific. Okay, now turn it around the other way.
Yeah?
Now turn it around the other way.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, now. Between your teeth.
What, are you going to light the middle here?
Right here.
Go ahead.
Now,
All right.
you're going to rotate the cigar so you can really light the edges. He's using the bent knee technique. I haven't seen that since '59. There you
That's
go.
a saxophone technique,
Now,
huh?
do not inhale. Whatever you do, don't inhale. Oh, there. Don't inhale, pal. That's not funny. That's about as funny as root canal if you inhale.
That
on a
was the
cigar.
Desi Arnaz problem, man.
Yeah, don't do that. Okay? All right. It's not bad.
So what am I supposed to do now?
Want to just
Cigar is lit.
if you do not inhale, roll it around. Roll the smoke around the mouth a little bit. And what you want to do is appreciate.
Am I doing it now? Is
Okay.
it smoking a cigar?
That's okay.